Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello friend and hello everyone. My name is Jauhar Hibatullah. I am from Boyolali, Central Java Province. I am here to discuss what nationalism and patriotism are. I also want to discuss what are some examples of appropriate attitudes to nationalism and patriotism. Nationalism, according to the Big Indonesian Dictionary, is defined of the sense of a nation capable of realizing ideals, maintaining identity, integrity, prosperity, and strength, as well as the spirit of nationalism. Nationalism can be understood as an understanding that creates and maintains the sovereignty of a nation or an understanding about one's love for one's country. The meaning of nationalism is very broad. For example, nationalism can be interpreted as the soul of the Indonesian nation, which will continue to be at it as long as Indonesia exists. The characteristics of nationalism include, in number 1, nationalism is love for country, language, and cultural history. And number 2, nationalism is the ideal of political independence, national security, and state authority. Etymologically, nationalism comes from the words national and ism, namely nationalism, which implies awareness and the spirit of love for the homeland, having pride as a nation, or maintaining the honor of the nation, having a sense of solidarity with the misfortunes of fellow countrymen, and peoples of unity. Meanwhile, the meaning of patriotism, according to the Big Indonesian Dictionary or KBBI, is the attitude of someone who is willing to sacrifice everything for the glory and prosperity of his homeland. Patriotism comes from the word patriot and ism, which means heroism. Patriotism is a feeling and expression of love for one's homeland, along with a feeling of unity with those who share those feelings. Along with love, patriotism is a feeling of pride, devotion, and attachment to the homeland, as well as a feeling of attachment to other patriotic citizens. So it can be concluded that nationalism and patriotism can be distinguished. Patriotism is a feeling of love for the homeland, while nationalism can be interpreted of expressed aggressively towards other countries, which means feeling that their nation is better than other countries. Example from attitudes of nationalism and patriotism. Example of nationalism include, in number 1, always use and support domestic product, and number 2, maintain the unity and integrity of the nation, and number 3, proud as a citizen of Indonesia, and number 4, maintain the good name of the nation. And next, example of patriotism include, in number 1, participate in democracy by voting in general election, and number 2, volunteer for community service or run for elected government office, and number 3, obey the law and pay taxes, and number 4, understand the rights and obligations, freedoms, and responsibilities contained in the Constitution of the Republic of Indonesia.